Just about 16 minutes after the hour of 7 o'clock, welcome back to the Now Morning Show. Now, this morning we are joined by the founder and director of the Trinidad and Tobago Copyright Collection Organization, Dr. V.J. Ramlal Rai, and General Manager of Jamaica Music Society, or JAMS, Mr. Evan Mullings, to talk about a memorandum of understanding, or the signing rather, that will reap benefits for both countries. Gentlemen, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us on Now.
Good morning. Good to be here.
Dr. Rai, I'm going to come to you first because the Trinidad and Tobago Copyright Collection Organization. Tell us about the organization.
Well, we were incorporated in 2000, quite a while now. When we were incorporated, it was because of the need to have a lot of our genres represented more in the country. Yeah. At that time, the Attorney General of the country, Mr. Ramesh Lawrence Maraj, insisted that we should have a second society in order to make sure that all artists benefit. And so that's how it was formed. And then at that time, we were formed to administer what is called neighboring rights in the society, under the copyright conventions of what copyright are. So you have copyright and you have neighboring rights.
What are neighboring rights?
Well, neighboring rights is persons who are involved in creating the music. Producers are one, the musicians are the other. So it's not only the writer. Let me make it easier for you. It's not only the person who writes the song. Everything else that goes to make the song are neighboring rights, more or less, right? Yeah, so it's easier to understand it that way because we could go on and on. Because
yes,
the guy who's playing the little strumming the guitar in the background, the musician who's doing something, every aspect of making that song what it is, aspects of neighboring rights. Performing on stage itself, if you're a great singer, you go on stage, you might be singing my song or somebody else's song, you're a performer. So that's another right, you know. So there's all these complicated rights, and so therefore, at that time in 2000, there was only particularly one right that was protected, which was just the copyright, which is the writers and so on. Yes. So now we have across the board in Trinidad, we have three major rights in our Act of Parliament, the Copyright Act, which is copyright, neighboring rights, and works of mass. And TTCO, we are fortunate to at least administer all three, but focus on two major aspects, is neighboring and works of mass.
Now tell us about the memorandum of understanding that was recently signed.
Well, it's not even understanding, it's an agreement. it's an agreement. We have understand it's an agreement. Yes. So it was a beautiful agreement that it took some time to put together because we were back and forth. I mean, JAMS is a well-established society in the Caribbean and highly respected and I'm sure he will speak of that. Yes. But I can only say it was a beautiful experience yesterday when we launched at the Radisson, and it's ceremoniously done because the agreements itself, as you know, these things are done behind the scenes long before we actually do the signing. So it was an agreement which both societies will benefit, the creatives in the country will benefit. That's including writers, performers, everybody else that is in the industry across the board.
And of course, I'm coming to you, Mr. Mullings, because I also want to know how will JAMS benefit from this signing that took place yesterday?
Well, first of all, it's good to be in Trinidad and Tobago once more.
Welcome.
Yes, it's a beautiful country. But certainly we, JAMS in particular, we represent neighboring rights also. And for the longest while, our members back in Jamaica, the producers in particular and performers also, they've been clamoring for us to have an arrangement with Trinidad and Tobago because they are very much aware that our music has a big presence here in Trinidad. Coming over on the airplane on my flight, we had a huge performer on that flight coming over, and almost on any given weekend you have our artists going back and forth. And outside of that, of course, wherever you go, Jamaican music is quite present, and so that's well known. And so with an agreement like this, certainly what will happen is that TTCO will be managing our repertoire here in Trinidad and Tobago and collecting royalties and sending that to us, and we're going to be doing the same in Jamaica on behalf of TTCO's members. And so we both countries stand to benefit from this arrangement financially, that we have royalties, because there are performers, there are producers whose works are being used daily. And so this arrangement will allow for that repatriation of royalties and back and forth, or reciprocal exchange of royalties.
Now, Mr. Mullings, as you mentioned, I know that you said that we have a strong, we hear the Jamaican music here in Trinidad, of course. Do you see the same thing happening in Jamaica, where our music is played that frequently, I would say, in Jamaica as well?
Well, not as dominant as what happens here in Trinidad with our music. It's more seasonal, but it is something that is growing because, of course, from the time of Baron Lee, he introduced carnival on a huge scale in Jamaica. He passed some years ago, rest his soul. But since that time, it has been growing. The carnival has been growing and so forth. And the season has been getting bigger and bigger each year. And so it is a growing presence. And we do have DJs that are now including more calypso and soca music in their sets on air. And so it's growing, and we love that. And we want to be part of that process to see that Trinidadian artists, Trinidadian producers are earning from Jamaica when the music gets played there.
Nice.
Yes.
That's a good thing. I love to hear that. I'm coming back to you, Dr. Rai, because you mentioned that it's going to benefit the creative sector. But give me a little bit more in terms of how exactly is it going to benefit us here, particularly the creative sector in TNT?
Well, of course, as Mr. Mulling says, we consume a lot of Jamaican music in this country. I mean, honestly, during Carnival, yes, we are dominant with soca and so on. As Ash Wednesday reached, we switch back to Jamaican music.
Sad but true.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
But our portfolio as a society is to protect all genres of music.
Yeah.
Now, if it is that is heavily consumed here, what we are concerned about is the creatives of those works, which has to benefit from it. Now, it's not anybody's fault why certain genre music are dominant, but what we're concerned about is like the person who spend the time and energy to make that music, and the performers of that music, they're artists, they're creative people, and we cannot segregate that kind of situation, because it's like you have been a presenter in the station, and if you go any part of the world, you will be a presenter there too. It doesn't mean that you have to go and be a Trinidadian presenter. You're a presenter. You understand? So that skill set is with you everywhere you go. So Jamaican music is not only prominent in Trinidad, it's across the globe. It is, if not, maybe the most prolific Caribbean music that is predominantly Caribbean ID throughout the world. I'm talking about countries like Russia, you name any country,
Bulgaria,
Jamaica, the whole of Africa. Africa.
Yes.
I mean, it's huge.
Yes.
Of course, we have our soca. I mean, we have chutney. We have other aspects of indigenous music here. But for some reason, the reggae and dancehall, as the case may be, has grown. I mean, I know it because I remember I was chairman of Notting Hill for 7-8 years, and I was fortunate to have met Bob Marley himself in Ladbroke Grove, and put him on, Eddie Grant and all these fellas from Guyana and so on. UB40 as well. These are serious reggae bands.
So you definitely know the impact that music has had.
And that I introduced even in our Notting Hill Carnival in London.
But I also want to know, Dr. Rai, how do you feel about the historic signing that took place today? I mean, is it that we're going to see signings taking place with other countries in the region as well?
Oh, well, yes, that's of course. This is the first in the Caribbean with a Caribbean society. Right. But we have also simultaneously yesterday signed with South Africa. Ah, okay. I'm not sure if your newscast carried it, but we had a simultaneous signing. So we had through Zoom, and we had the CEO of Sampra in South Africa signing at the same time we were signing ceremoniously. So we've signed with 2 countries yesterday, which is Jamaica and South Africa.
Nice.
And before the week is out, we have a signatory to do with Canada, which is Artisty. They represent performers, and that's another big one. It did not happen yesterday, only because Montreal had a blitz and a knockoff with some electricity and so on, so it just couldn't happen in time. But that's what there's 3 we're supposed to have done yesterday. We did 2 out of the 3, but they were looking on and saw that we're going to do that. So we're expanding that, and of course, also I think JAMS is looking to expand in the Caribbean too.
Well, let's hear from Mr.
Yeah,
Mullings
sure,
on that.
sure.
Yes.
Absolutely. I mean, we already have an arrangement with Barbados by a COSCAP. And so Trinidad certainly is our next stop. We're looking to the Eastern Caribbean as well via ECHO. However, they are certainly getting things together. So as soon as the arrangements and the institutions are able to facilitate that reciprocal arrangement, then certainly we'll be there. We already have footprints globally. We have arrangements with Germany, France, UK, USA, and so forth and so on. And so right here in our own backyard, we want to ensure that we have that presence also once the countries and institutions are there to facilitate that process.
And Dr. Rai, before we go, anybody who wants more information about this signing, they want to reach out to you, or of course to JAMS, any social media handles, any numbers you can share this time?
Sure. Well, an easy number is 788-4668, 624-1024, office and mobile. And you can check our website, www.ttco.org.tt, and you can get all the information there, because we actually also have launched a brand new upgrade of the site after yesterday.
Everything happened yesterday. Yesterday was a
So,
big
you
day
know,
for the
artists
folks.
could go, creatives could go online, see, they could literally see how much money they'll be earning and see where their music have played and see how much and so on. All the forms, everything is online more or less now.
Well, Dr. Rai, Mr. Mullings, thank you so much for coming in this morning. Of course, congratulations on the historic signing. One more thing quickly, 30
I
seconds.
just quickly I want to say thank you. Our president is in Tobago, couldn't be here, Mr. Isaac. Aston Isaac, who is looking on. We tried to get you in Zoom, Chief. And
well, I know our station did carry the story yesterday, and I believe that we did interview him as well. So we do have a soundbite from that, from the signing. So thank you so much for joining us this morning, gentlemen. And of course, all the best, not just for what was signed yesterday, but the future of the organization and future of partnerships as well.
Thank you.
Yeah? And that was the founder, of course, of the Trinidad and Tobago Copyright Collection Organization, Dr. Vijay Ramlal Rai, and of course, the general manager of JAMS, the Jamaica Music Society, Mr. Evan Mullings, just talking about a signing, an historic signing that took place yesterday, and more partnerships to come in the future. Here on the Now Morning Show, we're going to take a break and be right back. Stay with us.